Alright guys, so we're going to look at how we can force them to engage our Z-guard. A lot of people have trouble getting the Z-guard position, and a lot of people have trouble once they get that sort of knee shield Z-guard position, getting their opponent's knee to the floor. And we'll also talk about, for me, I play Z-guard on my opponent's weak side generally. Most guys are going to want to pass right leg forward, so I try and force them to pass with the left leg forward, so that way I can attack a position they're less comfortable in. I mean, every now and then we get some guys that do prefer passing left leg forward, but I mean, statistically, most people are going to pass right leg forward. So I'll show you what I do with the inside hook to force them to engage the side I want, right? So we'll show what happens generally if you stand up. So what happens when guys want to pass with this leg forward, they step that inside, and they're usually moving to that side, and they drop the knee. And now you can see I'm forced to engage on their strong side. I'd rather not battle them where they're used to passing. So what we have to do is I have to keep this leg inside, and I try and hook behind the knee here. I hook behind the knee as an anchor, and I fall to my left hip. And what that does, they see a knee cut with their weak side, and they really do take that. They take that a lot of the time because it is the best decision to make in this situation, right? So when we're here, they want to pass with this leg forward. So what I do is I hook in here, and even as they keep moving, I force myself onto my left hip, and I bring this knee back in. So now you can see that's the first step. We force them to engage at the side they would least prefer to engage from, right? So I'll show you that again. So we really need to anchor in here and drop to our hip. So I really curl to my side. But again, I bring this knee in, because if I just curl in here and I don't get the knee shield, they'll pass straight away with this side. So if I come in here, I fall to my side, and they might beat this knee, and they come straight into half guard or straight into the pass. So again, you have to have that knee inside to protect against that knee cut pass. So again, we're here, this leg comes inside, and even as they're trying to force this, I force myself onto my left hip, and now they see this knee cut and they take it. So again here, what I'll quite often do, we can take a reverse De La Riva hook here, so it would be like a shallow hook around the hamstring. But another hook I'll take is just keep this here, because it stops their side-to-side movement, stops their lateral movement, and it'll stop even a back step here. But what's key, again from this position, is that this knee's in. So this is usually the first step I'll take here. Again, I'll be controlling the inside space. This knee is going to keep them from getting a really solid underhook. But now let's look at, from this position, how do I force them to their knee? Because a lot of guys will say to me, I can't get this knee on the floor. And that's what good opponents will do. They'll keep this up, because while this knee's up, there's a chance they can knee cut all the way through, right? So what we need to do is we need to encourage this knee to the floor. So we're here. So the first step I'll do is now I'll switch from this hook to a reverse De La Riva style hook. And if their butt's real tight to their ankle here, I'll use my knee to make a bit of space to bring this in. You can see I'm hooking generally anywhere here. What I'm using this hook is to stop their knee coming all the way through to the floor here. If I don't hook here, their knee can come through to the floor and they can knee cut past us. So what's real important here is we use this reverse De La Riva hook to keep their knee from coming through. So if we combine that with that, there's no way they're going to pressure straight through, especially with our upper body frames. But how do we get the knee to the floor? What we need to do, we keep the reverse De La Riva hook. I'll make a little bit of space, so I'll move my hip out of it, and I'll hook an instep here. Once I've hooked the instep, I'll extend both legs, and we can drop their knee to the floor. Again, we don't want to stay here too long. If I stay here too long, they beat this knee, and they take a half guard. So once we put that knee on the floor, so again, reverse De La Riva hook, instep. Once we put that knee on the floor, bring your knee straight back in front. So this is how we bait them. The first bait is we force them to pass to the side they're not comfortable with. And again, you don't have to do that. That's just something I've strategically chosen to do, especially for competition. I'm going to attack them on their weak side. And then the second step is they've engaged the knee cut, they've engaged the bait. Now we need to put their knee back on the floor. So we'll go through it all one more time, right? So our opponent's standing, their right leg's forward. That means we can tell that they're probably going to prefer to pass right leg forward, or statistically, yeah, they're going to want to pass right leg forward. So we need to take this inside hook here. So we're playing, we take the inside hook, and we force ourselves to the inside here. I bring this knee back in front, and I keep this hook for now. So we're pretty stable here. It means they're committed to the knee curl. If I take this away, they can back out and maybe reset the position. But if we keep this hooked, it limits their side-to-side movement, even limits their ability to stand up easily. But again, we want this knee to the floor. So what we need to do, we switch to a reverse de la Riva hook. And again, such good technique here because there's no space for me to go reverse de la Riva hook, right? Come around here. There's no space here, right? The butt's tight. I can't just bring this foot through. I need to push with the top leg, even my arms here, to lift their butt off the ground, and then we take the hook. From here, if you're really flexible, you can just throw the instep in, but generally most people here, they'll need to keep the frames, they'll make a bit of space, and they'll throw this instep in around the shin here. The instep's real low to the ankle here. We want this bite. We keep the reverse de la Riva hook. We have an instep, but again, we control the frames here so they don't get a deep underhook. Extend both legs, knee hits the floor, I come in tight, and I bring my top knee across. So we'll talk about knee shield positioning in the next video on the two variations I like to play. But that's just a simple way to bait someone into the knee shield. Alright, so we've got the Z guard position now. We're following on from the first technique where we baited them into the Z. Now let's look at the two different ways I'll control the Z guard. There's some real important details here we need to cover, and there's some important details in terms of flattening the opponent's upper body as well. So we'll try and cover both those details. But firstly, right, there's the two variations, right, but they base around the same principle here. A lot of people tell me they try and play Z guard, but they get sprawled on, right? So like, the problem they're doing here, right, first of all, is they're letting their opponent's hip come forward of their opponent's own knees, right? Because if you guys think of a sprawl, if we come back, right? Think of a sprawl, if our hips are behind our knees, it's hard to squash down, but the minute our hips come over our knees, we can drop our hips to the floor and squash our opponent, right? That's the same for this Z guard position, right? So if we're here, and I let my opponent just generally, even before we do the control positions here, if I let my opponent's hips come forward, and then they drop their hips to the floor, either that way or even straight down on this one. You drop this hip straight down, like that's it, yeah. So we get squashed here, right? And this is all based around, if you look at my opponent here, if his hips, imagine we've got a line here, right? We've got to keep the hips on that side of the line, and that just crushes the sprawl. And it even crushes the sprawl against a lot bigger opponents. But when this hip line comes forward of the knee line here, and they can sprawl out, so if you can, and push this leg back. So if we switch around, so right now while my hips are behind my knees, it's hard for me to really squash my opponent around. But if these hips can come forward, then I can sprawl right out and crush my opponent. So we'll look at that on a couple angles here. So again, while my hips are behind my knees, it's hard to get a good sprawl on and really ruin this leg position here. But if my hips can come forward of my knee line, then I can sprawl my legs back and my hips in, and we can crush this Z. So as a core principle, the first thing we want to do is maintain this pressure. And the way we do that is with a counterforce. So if we look at our first Z guard position, we're going to go a shin wrap here. So my toes are going to come around the ankle here. So you can see this, right? So it's a shallow wrap. My knee is shallow. My knee is on my side of their knee line. So my knee's closer to me than their knees are. Then this top leg, we're going to put that right in the hip here. And again, it's a low hip position here. It's right on the hip bone. We're not going to go high because I find quite often that's easier for our opponent to strip it past. And that's how you play like an underhook half guard game where they push it past and you sit in. So it's still valid. It is valid, but we're playing a different angle here. And again, we don't want this knee, if we shift the angle again, we don't want this knee to come too deep. I want it just on the hip bone here because it's a real good counterforce. The moment this knee comes deep, they can squash their belly over the top. Yeah, it's easy to sprawl, right? So we want the shin wrap, and we want our knee on the hip, and we want to use a counterforce. We want our toes coming towards us while our top knee pushes away, right? And then if we play here, it's hard for them to sprawl on us here because again, their hip is behind their knee. So our toes are wrapped, pulling the bottom leg towards us here, and our top knee, just on the outer bone of the hip, is pushing back here. So we get this counter force. That's what's key here. So again, we're not going a high knee, and we're not going a deep knee. Deep knee is easy to sprawl. And again, we don't want this, we don't want to let them take their foot back behind them here. The moment their foot comes back, that allows them to bring their hips forward and allows them to sprawl out here and squash our knees. So again, that's the core concept we're talking about in this position. Hips behind the knees, and that'll stop us getting squashed. So the second variation of the Z-guard, right, is not a shallow bottom hook, it's a deep bottom hook kick. So this leg comes as deep as possible. I almost put my knee behind their knee, and I scoop my heel on an upwards angle towards me here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cross my outside foot over the top, and I drag my knee in. And again, it's right on the hip here. It's not too deep. But let's look at it. A lot of people, especially people with short legs, tell me all the time, they're like, I can't cross my feet like a closed guard like this and play the Z. They tell me they have to play foot to foot or toe to toe. But if I play either of those positions, right, if I just put foot to foot, they're just going to squash this, or they're going to push the knee out of the way, because it's a weak grip here. We want like a closed guard grip on our feet. So what people are doing wrong there is their bottom leg isn't deep enough. If my bottom leg is shallow, and I've got pretty long legs, if this is shallow, I can't even cross my feet and bring the knee back in. We want this super deep. So almost my knee, almost behind their knee. And we scoop that back towards us. We cross our feet, outside foot over the top, and bring our knee back in. So that's how we get this crossing position here. So again, if you're having trouble crossing your feet and bringing the knee back in front, it means the lower leg's not deep enough. Again, there's going to be some specific situations. Maybe you're 5 foot tall, maybe your opponent's over 200 pounds and you really can't cross your feet, that's fine. We just do the shin wrap and the knee pressure here. So again, if it might be impossible for you to cross your feet, that means we just go back to option 1. So now let's look at upper body defense, right? What I don't mind, and we'll go into this because we're going to cover triangle jerks. What I don't mind is if they take the underhook here. I don't mind them taking the underhook because we're going to play later, we're going to go into detail about how we play off the overhook here. But what I don't want is them to get the underhook and the crossface. This is going to, they might not necessarily pass off it, but it's going to use a lot of energy for us to strip that grip. So again, we don't mind the underhook, but we need to control the inside space here. So usually I'm controlling anywhere from the wrist to the elbow to the shoulder. 2 grips at the same time. If I just have the wrist, I can sort of track it, but maybe they grip their arm back and they get around it and grab a crossface. But while we're tracking two parts of their arm, really hard for them to skewer the crossface here. So again, we're not too concerned about defending the underhook. This underhook here is good. That's going to be good for us here. We just don't want them to connect their hands. And obviously later we're going to go into triangles like I was saying, and we're going to transition to the overhook and control the wrist. So again, if they do take underhooks here, that's really good for you. We're going to be able to work with that, right? But again, we don't want them to connect their hands here. This is what we don't want. Because again, I mean, they may not pass, but it's going to be very fatiguing to strip those grips. So that's the basic positioning for the Z-guard. But again, the core concept is, if you look at our opponent here, we want to keep their hips behind their knees at all times. The moment their hips come over their knees, if you bring your hips forward, like just your hips, and you can sprawl out here, so he can sprawl back and pressure. So as in, if my hips are behind my knees, it's going to be hard to put sprawling pressure. If my hips come forward of this knee line, it's really easy for me to sprawl my legs back. So again, that's the core concept we're dealing with right now. So now let's look at shooting the Z-guard triangle, right? And there's some key concepts here that will make it much easier for you to do this, right? But when I first started Jiu-Jitsu, my whole focus was the closed guard. So I would do everything I could to get to the closed guard, and like a lot of beginners, they find themselves in the closed guard a lot. But as you progress through the ranks, guys get smarter and they avoid the closed guard like the plague, right? So a lot of the techniques I did from Z started with the closed guard. So say like we're going to do an overhook triangle where we control the wrist, or sometimes we don't even need to control the wrist. that comes from my closed guard game. So it's essentially me trying to work out a way to play closed guard without the position. To use the same techniques, right? But we can also use the Z guard to get to closed guard, right? So that's, again, initially when I started playing Z guard, it was an idea I played around with to shoot the closed guard. So the way I would do that is we pull this Z guard position. Again, by habit, a lot of guys go for this low underhook. What I would do is I would use the underhook. I'd use their underhook and take an overhook, and I would bring my foot through to pull them to this closed guard. And then, like a lot of guys have seen, like we've got a quick triangle here, we can control the wrist, block the shoulder, shoot the triangle. But what I realized was we could sort of cut out the middleman here and we can shoot the triangle from the Z. But again, it started with my closed guard game. Z guard then progressed to a way to get the closed guard. And then now I just forget about the closed guard altogether and we play from the same angles. So let's look at how to control the position to shoot a triangle here. And what we're going to do is we're going to use the overhook to shoot the triangle. So again, a lot of people do like this underhook here, really. It's a habit that when they're in some sort of half guard position, people take the underhook. It's a good habit to have. Like say if he wasn't half guard, obviously the underhook, that's the best thing they could do here, right? But the Z guard's slightly different. They haven't beaten this knee yet, but again, they want to attach themselves here so they can sort of control the position, even though it's quite a neutral position at this stage. So when they take this low underhook, that's perfect for us, right? We're going to sit up to our elbow and we're going to scoop up this shoulder here. So I scoop my hand through. And what you can see here is that we'll think about our shoulders as a line, right? If my lower shoulder is further towards the inside space than my outer shoulder here, it's easy for them to push me flat back on my back here. So they'll drive into me and I'll fall over, right? And they'll get to a better position. But if we switch the angles here and we think of this overhook here as a whizzer, and I bring my top shoulder in front of my bottom and I slide my left arm back to really create that angle. Now when they drive into me, it's like they're driving straight to the floor, so they can't put me flat on my back here, right? So we beat that angle here. That's how we take it away. So again, we're playing our knee shield, our Z guard here. They take this low underhook, we sit up to our elbow, and if you can't sit straight up, again, we're always sliding back to make space, to plant the elbow and sit in. We scoop up this overhook, so we scoop it up, I want them tight to me, and now we're going to switch our shoulder angles. So here we're weak, so we slide our elbow back, and we turn our top shoulder on top. So again, it's like wrestling, I'm using a whizzer to displace the energy in a different direction, right? Because anytime I immediately come up here, and I start driving into them, they want to drive back, right? And if we don't have this shoulder angle, they're going to put us flat on our back. But when we come up here, we switch the angle here, they're trying to drive into us. Very difficult for them here. And as you can see, they put their hand on the floor momentarily. So like what I was saying with using closed guard techniques to develop this position, what's an old rule for closed guard? If they put their hand on the floor, they're vulnerable to an attack, right? So if we apply that principle to here, if either they put their hand on the floor out of their free will, they want to plant and drive back into us, perfect, we can shoot the triangle. Or we can force them to put their hand on the floor, right? So when we got this overhook here, when we switch, I try and drive them to the floor so they post that hand. So if you post your right hand, you know what I mean? Like they'll post it to balance, right? If they don't post it, if we try it again, if you come back and you keep that hand up, if they don't, if you don't post. So if you keep it back up. So if they don't post it, we can shoot this triangle, right? But if they post it, so if we can actually whip them to the floor to post this here. So they're driving in. If I can make them post out by switching my shoulders, that's perfect, right? Their hands on the floor, vulnerable to an attack, just like closed guard. Whereas closed guard, if they post their hand on the floor, you got kimurus, you got triangles, you got omoplatas, you got a bunch of options. Here we've specifically got the triangle. They need to keep that hand on the floor so their upper body doesn't collapse into the ground here, right? So I'm driving their way. I use my top knee that's floating on the hip here. That allows me to move away from them here, right? And we need to move away because we need to make space to bring this bottom leg through. Not everyone's flexible, can bring their knee to their head and slide it through. So if you need the space, it's this top leg that slides us away here. That slides us away, then we can bring our left knee to our chest and we can shoot the triangle through here. So again, we're here, we force them to post by switching our shoulder angle here. I use my knee to push away. But again, we stay heavy. If I don't stay heavy on the shoulder here, and I just push my knee, they take their hand off the ground, and they're ready to block the triangle, right? We need that planted. So we take it here, we switch the shoulders. I'm staying heavy to slide back, and we shoot the triangle here. So let's look at a different angle so you can see the pressure I'm applying to the shoulder. I'm trying to apply heavy into the back of the shoulder here and drive their weight diagonally, so they have to post this down here. So again, we're here, we're on our shoulder, right? They start to bring the underhook down, come up to our elbow, and we cut this, we scoop the shoulder up real deep, and we collapse our shoulder into the back of their shoulder, and we switch the angle of our shoulder. So we're talking about this shoulder line here, we switch. This is where we want them posted on that hand. And now watch, I extend my knee, and I bring my other knee to my chest. But again, we're still heavy on this shoulder here, so that we can shoot through here to the triangle position. And again, we can do that from either of the Z-guard positions we're talking about. We can do that from the closed guard sort of feet cross position, because again, it's the same, we're using the same method here, but again, when we need to slide away from them, obviously, we're gonna have to open the legs. So even if I'm playing a regular style, so this is more a traditional style Z-guard, where we're crossing our feet, like a closed guard, and they take this low underhook here, we can still do the same thing. We sit up, we make them post, but here is where I'd have to uncross my feet so I can slide away and shoot the triangle. So again, we got both angles there, but what I want you to think about is this shoulder pressure here. So we've got the arm, we want to make them post. So we need to change the angle of our shoulder. We need to be heavy here, but we need to change our shoulder angle. That's how we get them to post. So you can shoot this triangle even off any range of judo throws where your opponent posts on the floor. But I mean, it's the same principle from closed guard, how to shoot the triangle. We can use the Z to shoot a closed guard, or we can use the overhook to shoot a triangle choke. So following on from the overhook, let's look at a similar mechanism for when they attempt the weave pass. The weave pass is super common, and again, what we're going to do is going to work in the gi as well. This DVD's no gi focus, but this can work in the gi, but the pressure, you're going to have to apply more pressure to the grip break we use here in the gi, obviously, because their weave grip is going to be much stronger. Again, a more effective pass in the gi, but it's definitely still a problem. So the weave is when they bring this hand underneath the top leg and they cup here, right? This is a very annoying grip to do. It can block the triangle. It can even block a lot of the leg lock entries. So we need to deal with this, right? And how we deal with this again is with a wizard type pressure. So I'm going to go up to my elbow, reach under their armpit and on top of our knee. And when I say on top of our knee, I mean above the knee. We're not going to grab the knee. We're not going to grab below the knee. It's a different pressure here. We want to really scoop up the armpit. So that means we need to come above the knee here. Do you see how that brings his shoulder towards us here? That pressure isn't the same when I grab the knee or below. So we're grabbing on top of the knee. And now we're going to do the same shoulder movement. So when we're thinking about the shoulder line, when my lower shoulder is closer to him than my upper shoulder, in terms of a straight line down my shoulders, we don't have much pressure. But when we bring our elbow back and load our top shoulder forward, we can apply a lot of weight into them. And you can see that they have to post on their hand here to be stable. Otherwise they're going to sort of face plant on the floor. So again, it's a natural habit for them to put their hand on the floor, even though they know it's probably the wrong idea here, right? But they want to save their face plant. So when we're shifting, we want to make them post on the floor. And now we've got them posted on the floor, we've weakened the weave. We can shoot the exact same triangle we just did. We just need to make sure we stay heavy on the shoulder, push our knee back. I let go of the top knee and grab their armpit so we can pull them in. And then we can finish our triangle however you want to finish the triangle. I'll leave that part up to you. Everyone has a different way of applying the triangle submission. What we're focusing on is the entry here, and specifically the counter to the weave. So we're playing our knee shield here. They bring this arm through. This is a problem, right? They bring this arm through, they cut the knee. It's a problem. It's messing with our Z-guard pressure. I'm not getting much ability to flare. They're crushing my knees together. Sit up to the elbow, under the armpit, and again, specifically we're grabbing above the knee. I'm not grabbing my kneecap. I'm not grabbing below, the pressure's off. We grab above, we switch our shoulder line. So we need our bottom shoulder further away from them than our top. So we drag our elbow back, and you see how that makes them post. Just like a wizard in wrestling, we're shifting their weight off of us here. Their hands on the floor. That means it's a cue for us to shoot a triangle because it means they're not blocking it. So again, what I do is I stretch the top knee into them and bring the bottom knee towards my chest. At the same time, I'm sliding away to make space. My hand switches from the knee to the armpit. We shoot the triangle and we can pull them in via the armpit here. So if we go that, we'll go that one more time. We'll switch the angle there. So again, here you see these hands coming through. It's messing with us. They're doing the weave. They're cupping our leg. Sit up to our elbow, under the armpit, and we grab on top of the shoulder here. Not the kneecap, not below, on top. We shift the angle of our shoulders so that we're driving their weight from on top of us, away from us. That means they have to post their hand, right? Once they post their hand, we're going to shoot the triangle the exact same way we shot the overhook triangle, and that's by pushing away, making space with the top knee, bringing the bottom knee towards our chest. And in that transition, we cut the armpit here. And we bring it in to attack our triangle. So again, it's essentially the same move we did from the overhook, but a lot of people wouldn't think we can do that from the weave pass, but we can, very effective. And again, like I was saying, if you wanted to do in the gi, that knee strip at the later stage has to be stronger because we have to strip the grip from our bands. Alright, so let's look at how to attack a guillotine from the Z-guard here. So something for me personally, I do different attacks on different sides. For me, I prefer doing a guillotine with the right hand. So I mean, hopefully my opponents don't watch this, but if I'm forced to play Z-guard on the less preferred side for me, so on the dominant side for my opponent, I'll shoot more often than not a guillotine. So let's look at how we can bait him into the guillotine here. So we're in our Z-guard position here, right? And our opponent is driving a lot of force in, right? Maybe they're not giving us this overhook here. So like if their arm's up, we can't get a strong overhook. We need them to really bring this down and we can take this overhook. So if they're hanging out in this neutral area but they're driving weight in, I'll take a frame to their head here and I'll start pushing it away. And like this seems real basic, but it does happen. It does happen at the higher level. And it happens even in the gym when two guys are having a really intense roll. They really care about the result of the roll. And obviously that replicates competition, right? And this is a basic thing. We can sometimes just push people without any intention and they will react back into us. They'll react with a counter force. So even though there's not much I can do pushing my opponent away, they want to drive weight back in here. It's a natural reaction, right? It's not necessarily a natural reaction when we're having a slow flow roll. Guys will generally move with it, but in the heat of the moment, they will generally meet our force with a counter force. So I start pushing my opponent away here. And when they start pushing back, I use this top knee to kick straight and sit up. I can't just sit up, right? I need to use this leg for momentum. So I'll kick it and I'll sit up. And I'll try and sit over my opponent, essentially trying to hide my head into the center of the back here. As soon as we're here, I'll take a chin strap. So that's my initial control. And I'll grab an armpit grip on the other side. So I'm just cupping the armpit here because the pressure I want is a pulling pressure here. So we've got our chin strap. I use this as an initial control and hide my head behind their back. I take an armpit grip here, but once I get the armpit grip, I slide my chin strap a bit deeper, just past the chin here. I don't connect my hands on the guillotine. I'll show you the angle here of the finish. So what I try and do, I try and stuff the top of their head into my hip here. I maintain the shin wrap with my inside foot, and I throw my top leg as deep up the back as possible to avoid them posturing out of the guillotine. So we're here, we slowly stuff their head and fall onto our right hip. I throw the leg up, and we start to apply pressure with my lat towards them here. Because the idea, right, and this is very good if people want to pull their head out of the guillotine. A lot of guys are trying to flap their hands and pull their head out. What the mechanism here to cause the choke is, we're just putting something under their neck here, and we're applying pressure to the top of their head. So if you can think, if there's something here and pressure here, if they try and pull their head out, they actually apply the choke more. They're crushing their own throat here. So we don't even need to connect our hands to get the force. Come back in, So again, we're here, I'm driving them away. They start pressuring back in. And I use this kick to carry my momentum up. Once we're here, I want to get behind their back. So my chest to the back, head to the back, anything, we're just tucking in. Chin strap's the first grip, armpit's the second grip. As soon as I get the armpit grip, I know I'm in a pretty strong position, so I'll slide my hand a little deeper. So essentially, my wrist goes from the chin strap just to the other side of that chin here. What I'm gonna do as I fall is I pull my elbow really tight here, and I pull their armpit high. So we're contorting their body. We're gonna fall onto our right hip, stuff the top of their head as deep inwards as possible. We're not gonna finish the guillotine too strongly out here, but while their head's stuffed, that's what's gonna apply the pressure on the back of their head into the hand that's choking here. So we're here, we stuff their head. We start to curl in and throw our leg on the back. And I pull the armpit and I drive their head backwards into them as I curl my hand. So from here, it would be this motion. And we can actually finish without two hands. And the benefit is, right, a lot of guys will fight my hands with this inside arm here. When we flare their elbow wide, it's harder for them to reach up towards their chin here to get the angle to block the choke. When their elbow's tight, they've got this real good angle to strip the grip, right? So that's what our outer arm's doing. It's pulling it up wide and making it difficult for them to reach the choke. So if you look here, right, if I were to connect my hands, they could defend the choke here. You see that's got a lot of power to it. It's a strong angle pulling down. But if I didn't connect my hands and I flared this, and now they're trying to reach, it's very difficult for them to reach this choking hand. And quite often it's hard for them to reach this hand in because we're stuffing everything on this side. They're stuck on this side, right? So that's the reason we're not connecting our hands here, and that's how we can get the finish. So look at it from a different angle. So you can watch the kicking mechanism to get up, because I can't just get up, you know, like they're heavy on us here. We need to carry the momentum past them. So we're pushing into their head here, they start pushing back. We kick this leg, and we get up behind them here. Important to stay behind them. Chin strap, armpit grip, feed the hand a little deeper, and really rotate the top of their head into the floor. Pull this arm high, and throw the leg on the back for extra support. Here we're super close to the tap. If I push my body into the top of their head and pull my hand, we'll get the finish. So it's just a different way to do the guillotine. Again, you can do the traditional grips, but we don't need to switch the grips any further. That'll get the tap against most people. But again, you can use that setup to finish the traditional grip if that's what you prefer. Alright, so let's look at another attack from the Z-guard Nisha. We'll look at the omoplata, right? The omoplata can be difficult to do no-gi. A lot of guys will take the exact same way they do an omoplata in the gi, try and do it in the no-gi, but without the benefit of the handles of the gi, guys can posture out, especially real powerful guys. So it's sort of like a pit stop position, and we have to stop in to stop the posture break, right? So we're playing off here. Again, we're going to shoot this when they have a low underhook. So again, it's a bait here. Maybe we don't feel like we can get a good overhook position here, but again, they are vulnerable in this position. We can shoot the top knee through, but what we want to do here, what's really important, I don't throw the leg straight over here. Powerful guys here will posture to the sky and they'll rip it out, right? Obviously, if this was in the gi and I threw it straight over, we've got some different grips where we can control the collar or control the belt here, making it harder for them to posture. But again, it's no gi, we don't have that luxury, or maybe it's just like we're fighting a bigger, stronger opponent. So what we want to do here, they got this low underhook. I quite often like to keep pressure on the back of the armpit here, driving that into the ground. Because again, even though I can't get this overhook or wizard style grip to sort of displace their energy from crushing me, if I keep this to the ground, it's harder for them to drive back in, versus here, they're going to get a real powerful bite. So I'm applying pressure here, keep the leg straight, and I want to put my knee in the back of their back here. And we can even keep a heavy grip on our shin. But what's important, and just like what we did with the guillotine, we're heavy in the center of their back. Here it's going to make it more difficult for them to posture, right? So if they're trying to posture up here, we can stay heavy at an angle that's hard for them to posture. Versus, right, if we went straight to the next step, they actually, there's nothing blocking their back here, and they can rip themselves back up, push it back up, and we lose it entirely. Yeah, again, maybe they get to that underhook position because we have lost the knee shield at that point. They counted the omoplata, we've lost the knee shield, they commit to half guard, and that's going to be a nightmare, right? So let's look at the finish as well, right? So I'm here, they got this low underhook, kick the leg straight, and cup the back here. Real heavy. So again, when you're drilling this, you want to spend a lot of time finding the right spot to control that posture here. So again, it's not going to be on the lower back, they're going to posture straight up. We want to be heavy on the upper back. So we're real heavy here, spend a lot of time here finding that right spot, because you don't want to get here and miss it. Like we're talking about, if we miss it, they've got the underhook half, which is again a nightmare to get out of. So once I'm here, I can start to sit up and I can bring the leg across the head and I'll reach for the far shoulder. But again, we're staying heavy on the shoulder at all times. If the shoulder's off the ground here, we want to move away from them. So again, I'll take this foot out and we'll slide away from them. I want to put this shoulder on the floor here. And my preferred finishing method, obviously everyone has their own. And again, don't use this DVD in that you have to use the mind moves exactly what you can do. If you have a preferred method of finishing the omoplata, you can use that. But you can copy the entry, right? You can find what works for you. Maybe you have a different method of entering the omoplata, but you might prefer this method of finishing. So again, we've got the shoulder on the floor. We're gonna grab a seatbelt grip. I find that very strong here, and I start to sit up into them. So I'm trying to take their wrist towards their head here. But again, try to keep the shoulder on the floor. If the shoulder's up high, it takes much longer to get the submission. We'll get it here, right? If their shoulder comes up, we need to bring it down. We scoot away. So if their shoulder's up off the ground, scoot away from them here. Once their shoulder's on the floor, the submission's quick. As I start to bring their wrist towards the back of their head, tap there. So again, this shoulder, we want to plant on the floor. If the shoulder's up off the ground, tap's going to be much longer and their chances of them escaping is going to be much better. So shoot it one more time, right? Let's do it from this angle. So again, they're reaching for this low underhook. We want to crush that down. Shoot our leg through, slide it up the back, and stay heavy here. Again, if it's something in my weight division, the leg might be enough, but if it's someone bigger, I'm going to support it with the shin. And as I transition over the head, we stay heavy on the shoulder, and I reach for this far shoulder. So you can see I'm heavy on the shoulder. I'm trying to drag it to the floor. We haven't reached the shoulder to the floor at this point yet, so when I bring my leg out, I'll scoot away. That's what's going to bring this inside shoulder to the floor. Then we secure a seatbelt grip on the far shoulder. I'll tuck both feet back, and I'll start to drag the hand towards the back of the head. So again, the key details there, throughout the entire transition, being really heavy on the back of that shoulder. That'll speed up the tap. And again, being heavy on the back of that shoulder initially is going to stop them posturing up, throwing you off, which is a common problem for finishing the omoplata and nogi. Alright, so let's look at how we can set up an armbar off of the overhook. But what I'll also try and explain is based on where their arm positioning is, we might choose to do an omoplata instead. If we tried to force the armbar when their arm was too low, it would be very difficult to do. So, we're in our Z-guard position here, right? We've sat up, we've taken the overhook. But let's say we're not shooting a triangle here, we want another option. We're going to kick our leg through just like we did with the guillotine. So this top leg's going to kick straight. We're going to bring it up the back here. So you can see the arm position here is so low. It's really low around my hip. Here, I wouldn't try the armbar. What I would try and do is sit back through for the omoplata. Just like we did earlier, I won't go into detail about that. But what I will say is if their arm's already low around our hip, like they're really trying to secure our hip, that's the cue to go for the omoplata. Don't force the armbar here. If their arm comes up, and it generally comes up when they're trying to pull their arm out of your overhook, that's a real quick cue to go for the armbar. So again, we're here, we shoot our knee through. You see how the arm's high here? High, that's our cue for the armbar. If you drag it low the other direction, low, the control of the hip, that would be our cue for the omoplata, right? So just to be real clear on that. So we've shot our leg straight through like the guillotine. We brought our knee back up. What we're gonna do, the arm's high here, and it will generally be high if they're trying to pull their arm out. That's where the arm slips right up into our shoulder. We want our knee to come to the floor and our foot to curl behind their head. And I also let go of the lower leg hook around the shin here. So we let go of that because that's gonna stop our own hip rotation. So again, we come through, knee to the floor, foot on the back of the head, full all the way to the hip, and we keep our hand on our hip here. And then, given that we've got an overhook grip, we just start to apply hip pressure in, and we'll get that tap really quick. So we'll do it again. I'll try not to hit you in the head. So we're here, we're in our Z-guard. We sit up, we take the overhook. We shoot our leg straight through and bring it up the back. Here, you see how the arms slid right up into my armpit? That's our cue to shoot the arm bar. So what we're gonna do, our knee's gonna slide past their head to the floor, and we're gonna hook the back of their head with our foot here. Knees on the floor. Once our knees on the floor, we keep the overhook and we rotate through to the floor. I can keep my hip grip here, and we can start to apply hip pressure in to finish the arm bar. Or sometimes here guys will roll. If they roll, we need to be ready to catch the leg. Catch the leg, keep the overhook. You can see the angle here. Throw the leg over the head. Here, I would probably cross my feet to really secure the position. And we can apply just a little bit of hip pressure. And when we apply that hip pressure, we pull the arm back to get that finish. So do it one more time now. So we're in our Z-guard. We sit up, we grab this overhook. We secure it real tight. If I'm thinking arm bar, I'm really thinking of trying to pull that arm high. I kick the leg through and I bring it up the back here. You can see here the arm's naturally slipping up, but usually if someone tries to pull their arm out, watch what happens. If you pull your arm that way, the other way, like that's it. You can see as they try and pull their arm out, it actually pulls their arm further into our armpit, making the arm bar easier. So that's a good reaction, a good defensive reaction. Once we're here, again, unhook this foot. This foot's gonna stop my hips rotating. I unhook it, I drag the knee next to the head, and I put the foot in the back of the head. We rotate all the way through our hip. We can either get the finish here, or if they go to roll, catch this leg straight away. We wanna catch this leg, then we throw our other leg over here to get the finish. Generally, all it's gonna take is a little bit of hip pressure, but if you wanna really get a lot of pressure into it, drag the arm towards you and hip up. And generally, the overhook arm bar, you'll get the tap a lot sooner than a traditional arm bar, so just be careful with how fast you apply it. Alright guys, we'll add one more take for this one. We want to see it from a different angle. So this angle will give you a better indication of what I'm doing with my leg and how I'm unhooking this lower leg, right? So yeah, we're in our Z-guard here. We sit up, we take this overhook. So I'm hugging that real tight to my body. I kick my leg through and I bring my knee up just like the omoplata, but I actually bring my hips off the ground here. So again, my lower leg, my left foot here, we don't keep it wrapped. If it's wrapped, I can't turn. Their leg is anchoring me in position. So I actually take it out. I take it out, I can throw it to the other side. My knee is gonna pivot to the floor and my shin on the back of their head. So this is the first section we're at here. And maybe you get the tap here, there already is a lot of pressure, but I wanna rotate all the way through to my side. So you can see my knees are pointing in the same direction. From here, I'm cupping my hip. We've still got an overhook. We could finish it here. So we could get the tap here, right? But again, especially in a high level competition, guys, I'm gonna tap quick to an arm bar. You have to have it dead to rights. So guys have the ability to roll here. So we wanna be ready. That's why I've got my left hand free. We're ready to catch this leg as they roll. If you start to roll through, I catch it straight under the knee. I sit back up and I throw my feet over for a foot cross position here. And then I can just bridge into it. But again, if we want a lot of pressure on that arm bar, we drag that arm towards us as we hip in. So you saw the tap there, but we've still got all this bridging pressure here. So again, if you hit the overhook arm bar, the tap's gonna come quicker, and I believe we're gonna get a better angle to create a lot more damage with that than say the traditional arm bar.